Did you know a single mistake, like raising rent the wrong way or filling out one form incorrectly, could trigger fines of up to $30,000 in California in 2026? It sounds extreme, but it's already happening. Every day, more seniors are facing penalties, not because they're doing something wrong on purpose, but because the rules have quietly changed around them. And the scariest part? Most people don't realize it until a letter arrives, a complaint is filed, or money is already on the line. What feels like a small, harmless decision today can quickly turn into a costly legal problem tomorrow. So before you assume you're safe, let's break down 10 critical laws and how to avoid these expensive mistakes.
Number 1. AB 1482 Rent Cap Rules. California's AB 1482 rent cap law may sound like it protects tenants, and it does, but for seniors, especially those renting out a room or a small property, it can quietly become a legal trap. Under this law, rent increases are strictly limited, and the rules around how and when you can raise rent are more complex than most people realize. Many seniors assume a small increase to keep up with inflation is harmless, but if it crosses the legal limit, even slightly, it can trigger complaints, legal notices, or even financial penalties. Imagine raising rent by what feels like a reasonable amount, only to receive a formal complaint weeks later. Now you're not just dealing with money, you're dealing with paperwork, stress, and possibly legal action that drags on for months. What makes this even more challenging is that the law requires proper documentation and timing. It's not just about how much you increase rent, it's about how you notify tenants, when you do it, and whether your property even qualifies under the law. A simple misunderstanding can turn into a costly mistake. The smartest move? Always calculate your allowable increase carefully, keep written notices of every notice, and double-check whether your property falls under AB 1482 rules. Because in 2026, it's not the big decisions that hurt people the most, it's the small ones they didn't think twice about. If this is already making you think differently, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We break down complex laws into simple, practical insights so you can protect your money, your time, and your peace of mind.
Number 2. SB 567 Eviction Restrictions. SB 567 has quietly changed the eviction landscape in California, and for seniors, especially those renting out a second property or a portion of their home, it can turn a routine decision into a legal minefield. On the surface, it strengthens tenant protections, but underneath, it introduces stricter rules, tighter timelines, and very specific documentation requirements that must be followed exactly. Many seniors assume that if they own the property, they can ask a tenant to leave for valid personal reasons, like needing the space for a family member. But under SB 567, even that situation can be challenged if every legal step isn't handled perfectly. Imagine this. You decide to reclaim your property so your son or daughter can move in. It feels like a reasonable and fair decision, but if the notice isn't written correctly, if the timing is off, or if the justification doesn't meet the exact legal standard, the tenant can dispute it. What follows is not just a delay, but potentially a legal battle involving fines, penalties, and months of stress. And the reality is, most of these issues don't come from bad intentions, they come from small technical mistakes that people didn't even know mattered. This is where SB 567 becomes especially risky. It shifts the burden onto landlords to prove that every action is legally justified and properly executed. For seniors, this can be overwhelming, especially when the rules are constantly evolving. The safest approach is to slow down before taking any eviction-related step. Always verify your legal grounds, review the latest requirements, and if possible, get guidance before issuing any notice. Because in today's environment, protecting your property isn't just about ownership, it's about understanding the fine print that now controls what you can and cannot do. Number 3. AB 2188 Employee Rights Law. AB 2188 is one of those laws that sounds minor at first, but for seniors running small businesses, it can create serious legal exposure if misunderstood. This law expands protections around what employees do outside of work, especially regarding off-duty conduct. In simple terms, it limits how much control an employer has over an employee's personal life. Now, many seniors who own small shops, rental operations, or family businesses operate based on trust, values, and personal judgment. But under AB 2188, decisions that feel right from a business or moral standpoint can still be considered unlawful if they interfere with protected employee rights. Imagine this situation. An employee behaves in a way outside of work that you don't agree with, and you decide to let them go to maintain standards in your business. In the past, that might have seemed reasonable, but now, if that decision is linked to protected off-duty conduct, it could lead to a legal claim against you. What starts as a simple termination can quickly escalate into a lawsuit, bringing financial costs, legal stress, and time-consuming proceedings. The challenge here is that the line between personal judgment and legal violation is no longer clear. Many business owners won't even realize they've crossed it until it's too late. That's why this law is particularly risky. It doesn't punish obvious wrongdoing, it punishes misunderstandings. The safest move is to review and update workplace policies to reflect current legal standards. Make sure any employment decisions are based strictly on job performance and documented behavior within the workplace. Because in 2026, running a business isn't just about managing people, it's about navigating a legal environment where even well-intentioned decisions can carry unexpected consequences.
Number 4. AB 5, Contractor Classification Law. AB 5 has fundamentally changed how workers must be classified in California. And for seniors, this is where things can get unexpectedly complicated. Many people hire help in good faith, caregivers, cleaners, handymen, or even someone to assist with daily tasks, assuming they're independent contractors. It feels simple, flexible, and practical. But under AB 5, the rules are far stricter, and what you think is a contractor may legally be considered an employee. That difference is not small. It affects taxes, benefits, insurance, and legal responsibilities. The risk here is silent but serious. If someone you hire is misclassified, you could be responsible for unpaid wages, back taxes, penalties, and even legal claims. Imagine hiring a caregiver for convenience, only to later face a demand for months of back pay and compliance violations. What started as a helpful arrangement can quickly turn into a financial and administrative burden that's difficult to manage. What makes AB 5 especially challenging is that it doesn't rely on what you call the worker. It relies on how the work is structured. If you control how, when, and where the work is done, or if the role is essential to your daily needs, the law may see that person as an employee, regardless of any agreement you made. Many seniors fall into this trap simply because they're not aware of how detailed these rules have become. The smartest approach is to use a simple mental checklist before hiring. Are you setting the schedule? Are you directing how the work is done? Is this an ongoing role rather than a one-time task? If the answer is yes, there's a strong chance the worker should be classified as an employee. Taking a little extra time to understand this up front can save months of paperwork, stress, and unexpected costs later, because in today's legal environment, convenience without clarity can become very expensive.
Number 5. Proposition 19, Property Tax Changes. Proposition 19 has quietly reshaped how property transfers and inheritance work in California, and for many seniors, it can have a much bigger financial impact than expected. For years, families relied on passing down homes with minimal tax changes, allowing children to keep property taxes low. But under Proposition 19, that protection has been significantly limited. Now, when a home is transferred to children or heirs, it may be reassessed at current market value, often leading to a sharp increase in property taxes. At first, this might not seem like a major concern. After all, passing down a home is about securing your family's future. But the reality is very different when the numbers come into play. Imagine your children inheriting your home, only to face a property tax bill that's double or even triple what you were paying. In some cases, the increase is so high that families are forced to sell the property just to afford the taxes. What was meant to be a gift can quickly turn into a financial burden. The key issue here is timing and planning. Many seniors are unaware that how and when a property is transferred can determine whether it qualifies for any tax adjustments or exemptions. There are still certain conditions under which partial exclusions may apply, especially if the property becomes the primary residence of the heir, but these rules are strict and must be followed carefully. This is why strategic planning becomes essential. Understanding the implications before making any transfer decision can protect your family from unexpected financial strain. Because in today's environment, preserving generational wealth isn't just about owning property, it's about navigating the rules that decide whether your legacy becomes an asset or a liability.
Number 6. SB 553 Workplace Safety Mandate. SB 553 introduces a new level of responsibility for business owners in California, and for seniors running small businesses, it can easily become an overlooked risk. This law requires employers to create and maintain a formal workplace violence prevention plan, something many small operations have never needed to think about before. It's not just about keeping your workplace safe in a general sense. It's about having a written, structured plan that outlines how risks are identified, how incidents are handled, and how employees are protected. For many seniors managing a small shop, rental office, or family-run business, this can feel excessive. After all, if you've never had a safety issue, why would you need a formal plan? But under SB 553, the absence of a problem doesn't exempt you from the requirement. In fact, not having a documented plan in place can itself lead to penalties if your business is reviewed or recorded. Imagine running your business smoothly for years, only to face fines, not because something went wrong, but because you didn't have the required paperwork ready. The challenge here is that compliance isn't always obvious. It's not just about writing a few notes. It involves identifying potential risks, training employees on procedures, and maintaining records. For seniors, especially those who are not used to dealing with evolving regulatory requirements, this can quickly become confusing and time-consuming. The practical solution is to approach it step by step. Start with a simple checklist. Identify possible risks in your environment, outline clear response procedures, document everything in writing, and ensure anyone working with you understands the basics. Once this system is in place, it doesn't require constant attention, but without it, even a minor inspection or complaint can create unnecessary stress. Because in 2026, compliance isn't just about reacting to problems, it's about proving you were prepared before anything happened. Number 7. AB 60 Driving Compliance Updates. AB 60 and related updates to driving compliance rules in California are creating a new layer of responsibility that many seniors may not fully realize until it's too late. While driving has always required basic renewals and documentation, recent changes are placing greater emphasis on accuracy, timing, and eligibility requirements. For seniors, this matters more than ever, because even a small oversight, like missing a renewal notice or failing to update documentation, can lead to fines, penalties, or in some cases, a temporary suspension of driving privileges. What makes this particularly concerning is how easy it is to fall behind without noticing. Many people rely on reminders by mail or assume they'll be notified well in advance. But delays, missed letters, or simple forgetfulness can create a gap where your license is no longer valid, even if you didn't intend to break any rules. Imagine going about your normal routine only to find out during a routine check or minor traffic stop that your license status has an issue. What should have been a small administrative task can suddenly become a stressful and time-consuming problem. For seniors, driving is not just about transportation. It's about independence, daily routines, and staying connected to life outside the home. That's why these compliance updates carry more weight than they might seem at first glance. The safest approach is to take control of the process rather than relying on external reminders. Setting up a simple renewal tracking system, whether it's a calendar alert, a written note, or a digital reminder, can make a significant difference.
In today's environment, staying compliant isn't just about following the rules, it's about staying one step ahead of them. Because when it comes to driving, a small delay can quickly turn into a disruption that affects your freedom, your schedule, and your peace of mind.
Number 8. SB 478 Hidden Fees Law. SB 478 is changing how pricing must be presented in California, and for seniors running small businesses, rentals, or even occasional services, it introduces a level of transparency that can't be ignored. People never intended to mislead anyone. Common practices like adding service fees, cleaning charges, or late add-ons can now be viewed as violations if they're not clearly disclosed up front. What once felt like a normal way of structuring prices can now carry legal consequences. The risk becomes real in everyday situations. Imagine listing a rental or offering a service with a base price, then adding additional fees later in the process. Even if those charges are reasonable, failing to present the full cost clearly from the beginning can lead to complaints or penalties. Under SB 478, the expectation is simple but strict. Customers should know exactly what they will pay before they commit. Anything less can be considered deceptive. For seniors, especially those who rely on rental income or small service-based earnings, this shift requires a change in mindset. It's no longer enough to be fair, you have to be fully transparent. The safest approach is to adopt a clear, all-inclusive pricing model. Instead of breaking costs into multiple parts that appear later, present the total price up front, along with a simple explanation of what it includes. This not only keeps you compliant, but also builds trust with customers. And that trust has real value. In a competitive environment, people are more likely to return to businesses that are clear and honest about pricing. So, while SB 478 may seem restrictive at first, it actually encourages a cleaner, more reliable way of doing business. Because in 2026, transparency isn't just good practice, it's the difference between steady income and unexpected penalties.
Number 9. AB 205, Climate Accountability Law. AB 205 reflects California's growing push toward environmental accountability. And while it may sound like a large-scale policy aimed at corporations, its effects are quietly reaching individual property owners, especially seniors with older homes or rental properties. This law is tied to broader climate and energy goals, which means stricter expectations around efficiency, emissions, and building standards are becoming more common. For many seniors, the challenge isn't just understanding the law itself, but realizing how these evolving requirements can impact their property over time. Older homes, in particular, are more likely to fall short of newer efficiency standards. This could mean outdated insulation, older heating systems, or appliances that consume more energy than what current guidelines encourage. While there may not always be immediate penalties, the risk builds gradually. Non-compliance can lead to higher utility costs, difficulty selling the property, or pressure to make upgrades under local regulations. In some cases, failing to meet certain standards can even reduce the market value of a home, turning what was once a stable asset into a growing financial concern. The key issue here is that these costs are often hidden at first. A home may seem perfectly fine today, but as policies tighten and expectations rise, the gap between older properties and new standards becomes more noticeable and more expensive to close. For seniors living on fixed incomes, sudden upgrade requirements can feel overwhelming. The practical approach is to think ahead rather than react later. Small, cost-effective improvements like upgrading insulation, switching to energy-efficient lighting, or maintaining heating systems can make a meaningful difference over time. These steps not only help align with evolving standards, but can also reduce ongoing expenses. Because in today's environment, owning a home isn't just about maintenance, it's about adapting to a future where environmental compliance plays a growing role in both cost and value. Number 10. California Digital Privacy Liability Rules. California's growing focus on digital privacy is changing how personal data is handled, and for seniors, this shift comes with both protection and risk. While these rules are designed to safeguard information, they also highlight how vulnerable everyday online activity has become. Seniors are increasingly targeted by scams, phishing attempts, and misleading messages that look completely legitimate. A simple click, a shared detail, or even responding to the wrong email can open the door to financial loss or identity misuse. What makes this especially dangerous is how subtle these situations can be. Imagine receiving a message that appears to be from your bank, a service provider, or even a government agency. It asks for a quick confirmation or login, and everything looks real. In that moment, it doesn't feel like a risk, but behind the scenes, that single action can expose sensitive information, leading to unauthorized transactions or long-term identity issues. And while laws are evolving to hold companies more accountable, individuals still carry the burden of protecting their own access and devices. For seniors, this isn't just about technology, it's about daily habits. The safest approach is to slow down and verify before taking action online. Avoid clicking on unexpected links, double-check the source of emails or messages, and never share personal or financial information unless you are absolutely certain of who you're dealing with. Simple practices like using strong passwords, enabling two-factor authentication, and regularly monitoring accounts can significantly reduce risk. Beyond the financial impact, these issues also affect time and peace of mind. Recovering from a scam can take weeks or even months, involving calls, paperwork, and ongoing stress. That's why digital awareness is no longer optional. It's essential, because in 2026, protecting your privacy isn't just about staying safe online, it's about protecting your money, your identity, and your everyday peace of mind. And here's the truth, these laws aren't just policies on paper, they can quietly reshape your finances, your freedom, and your peace of mind if you're not prepared. The difference between staying safe and paying thousands often comes down to awareness. If this opened your eyes, make sure to subscribe and share this with someone who needs to see it, because one small mistake can cost a lot, but one right step can protect everything.